Alright, hello everyone. We will create a custom brush for terrain and for texturing work, sculpting details. This will be a multi-alpha brush, and the website I'm using is the JAXA website. This contains geographical data in image formats, so after a registration it is downloadable. You can look up for this resource. And what I'm looking for is the European area. It takes some time to load, but it's really fast, and a certain area that's picked. And then if you're registered and entered, and then you can see this button and download it. Basically, what you can download is a package that has multiple things. Many of them are not used by us, but here, this big one, this DSM file, is the file that we are looking for. Now, if you open this up in Photoshop, this is looking like, okay, and there we go, and I saved it here, but just a second. So this TIFF file, if we look it up in Photoshop, this looks completely black. It doesn't mean there's no data. This data is just not so articulated and strong in visually. It is there, but it's a subtle data. So what we can do is to bring it forward a little bit more to be easier to use, is to set an exposure control. And you can do many, but I've experienced this 9.5 is working fairly well. 0.68 was working fine. So now we have quite dark areas and brights as well, so it has a nice range. And then we can just Ctrl E, merge it down and save it as a PSD file. So I will just save this here right away, the new files. So every file I will save here, and that's a Photoshop file. Photoshop and TIFF, that the TIFF what they are using is not the same TIFF that you are commonly use. So this is why you have to convert it. Okay, let me just rename it because it's easier. So this is like a map, home elevation map. Elevation map, okay. Map elevation. Alright, so we want to use this in ZBrush. Now, the first thing is we are prepping a file because this would be a brush. So it's not just simply one-time use when we can just load an alpha and use it. Of course, that's also doable, but we want to create a brush from it. So we are setting this up. First of all, this is a Plan 3D, and I will drag this Plan 3D out, pressing T to enter edit mode. Make sure that we are in front, and make sure that this is Make Polymesh. So if you're not sure about this polymesh or not, turn on Shift F and see the color. Of course, the material should be something else than the red one. So here we are. This is our mesh at first. Now we need multiple planes. Let me subdivide, duplicate it and copy and scale it up. This will be a backdrop that helps our brush, because by default, if we don't have this one, our brush cannot sense outside the model. But if we have this one as a backdrop, here's our model, we can sense, we can use this large area to pick up the info. Okay, so that's the goal. That's the goal here, right? So this will be, I will press Ctrl W to make sure that the color is different and rename it to helper. This is the helper plane, and this will be on top, so using the arrows. This will be the sculpting plane. Sculpt. Okay, so now we can make a little bit of a difference here, and of course, because it's sculpted, we have to subdivide it further, but be careful, because if you just subdivide it, this is what happens. Ctrl D, and it chips the edge. So you can go to geometry, turn off smoothing, and use subdivide. This is the same as Ctrl D. So I'll subdivide it a couple of times, and here I have the values. I will go to 1,000,000. You can go higher if you wish, but There's no reason to go so high. Depending on the maps, sometimes you will see that a 4 million map is better, but this is just fine. Okay, and as you see, it's pretty close to the standard 1K size in polygon size. This for a reason. Okay, so here we are, and because we don't want to repeat this, I will duplicate this model right away. So Ctrl+Shift+D, and this is Sculpt 1, and I will rename it to Sculpt Original or Main, whatever. This is just to kept as something that could be duplicated all the time if you need more. Okay, so now backdrop is active, sculpt is active, and we can start working on this and create our first brush. So going back to draw mode, I have this allow click to solo option, so let me turn this off. Both models are visible. So standard brush and drag rectangle, and we need the alpha. We can import the alpha, and that could be found in here now. Map elevation PSD, so that's loading up, and as you see, it's coming with the colors. It has 16 depth and quite decent height and size. So the import I've used here is the same import that you can find it here, and as you see, it's highlighting. It's just a little bit easier for me to do. And we can start inside this model, or we can start outside this model. The reason we like to do outside, because then you can have a little bit more room to look for a place you want to pick. Okay, so that's the main reason basically. All right, now let me start here and look at the result. I like it, but maybe the elevation is not that intense. I can go back and forth and redraw, but honestly, it's hard to find the same place. So instead of that, let me undo this and introduce to something else. These are called layers. So we are now in the highest resolution. So this is a subdivision 6. This is when you can create your layer at the highest resolution of yours. If you don't have any, of course, it's not a problem. So I'm creating a new layer. It automatically goes into record mode. I can drag that out, this part. Okay, looks really interesting. And if I want, it's not a necessity, but let me show you how it works. So let me turn off the recording. I don't want to alter now this recording. And once this is done, here's a layer, here's a slider that actually it's layer intensity, but it just borrows the name of the layer of yours. So you can just increase it if you wish. I will just be very gentle with it. This is 1.2, but it's fair enough. So now it has some intensity. Of course, when you draw it, you can always change the brush intensity as well, but yeah, it looks solid now. Okay, once we are done, we should bake it. So congratulations, this will be the first part of our map. Now we are going back to Subtool and go to Sculpt Original and turn off this sculpt and Ctrl+Shift+D again. And now we have a new model, and let me just go down, and this was the sculpt. I will rename it to water, like or river, because there's something like a river. Basically, it doesn't matter how you name it, just make sure that you can remember, or it's easy to recall, because these names will appear in the brush, within the brush. So Sculpt Original, this is empty. Now I'm looking for another area to pull out. I want a little bit of a less aggressive part of the world. This is looking promising. This is very subtle, so of course I want to go and choose layers and create a new layer. And I was starting somewhere here and looking for somewhat similar areas. Okay, there we go. Turn off the record and changing the intensity. So that should be 2. Now it's a little bit more harsh, and actually it's too harsh in some cases. So let me go with just 1.5 and see if that's okay. Maybe I could a little bit of okay. Yeah, deformation layers. Okay, so if I'm fine with this, I will bake it and have an influence, a little bit of a smoothing around, going down. maybe it's better if I'm going down with the levels. So bacon and Shift D and go down. D and smooth it out. D and smooth these things out. On these unexpected changes, then D again. So now we have another few peaks. Okay. Right. Alright, so few things, just an example. Okay, so now we have two of them. So subtool, we have the river, we have the sculpt original. Let me rename this to flat. So now this is a flat area. If we wanted to do a very quick third one, just to have a few under the belt, it will be test. And hide it away, and I give it a try, and not using the layers. And this is also fine. We have a few obstacles here, as you see, but this is a flat number 2. Okay, so rename and flat 2. Okay. So how to make the brush? Because it's a brush, so we should look for the settings of the brush area, and we have this from mesh. But before we do it, so the first thing, we don't need this helper plane, we should turn it off. Make sure that your whole scene is facing front of you, the plane is looking like this. You can press F to frame the whole thing, and you need another brush. So this one is now the standard brush. You can clone this, and then just turn off the alpha. Drag rectangle is looking fine, and maybe intensity should be about 50. And from now, brush from mesh, so it will pick the active sculpt that you have and borrow the z-axis data as a height map. So from mesh, and it will create an alpha, and it will create an icon for the brush as well. Now then we are moving to the other one, turning off the visibility, and from mesh, and now it adds to the existing. So now we have flat 2 and we have river, and then we have the flat. So let me turn off the visibility here, and from mesh, and now we have 3 of these. And as you see, because ZBrush is working this way, we have this z-axis that's pointing upwards, or pointing towards us. That value is checked. This is why you have to orient. If you don't orient, it will result in a different outcome. So if you want to save it, you can save the brush right away. We can select an icon. If you're holding on Alt key and clicking on the select icon, if you have a prepared file, you can just use that, and then brush and save as. Where are you? Save as, and save as brush, and this is the class brush. Okay. Right. So now we have a nice icon. This is a black and white image. We have a few things, and it's time to put it in action. So for that, I will use the model I have prepared, and there's some groundwork. So preferences, initialize ZBrush, yes, and load the tool that was prepared. So tool, and there we go. Drag it out, pressing T, and this material is just really not our cup of tea. So we want to sculpt on this one, this area. If I'm pressing Shift F, this is how it looks. Let me also, oh no, not yet, but we have the brush. We can load the brush as well. It's in the brushes folder, so we have this class brush now created. And as you see, the brush is loading up, and it works right away. However, this thing is just very coarse, and that's not really in our favor. Okay. It's barely visible, so it's happening something, but it's barely visible because we have no resolution. But it's pretty boring because it's just a simple flat plane, and we want to have some kind of a patch of a ground here. So how to make that patch? First of all, we need a little bit of more subdivision, so we will subdivide it. Shift F, turn on and off, and now we have it. We don't need the lower resolution piece, so we're deleting the lower resolution. Now we also have a single resolution, and we can start painting the masking. I'm just quickly creating a drafty mask, and sometimes solo mode can help you to paint underneath the model. And I'm just creating this kind of a rounded patch. Okay, that was too ambitious. Okay. Yeah, this was fine. Okay, so this is what I want to keep. You have to split, go to subtool, split unmasked point. It will split the rest. It's still there, but you know, in solo mode that is gone. And we want to clean up the edges without ZBrush. Of course, there's no point running ZBrush here because it has so many jagged edges. So before you do that, you can go to deformation and polish by crisp edges. Now, I don't know if you see it, but here we have some kind of a double edge. That is that's symbolizing creasing, which one is like hard edge in the ZBrush language. So if we just run this polish crisp edges without the with the alternate function, we have this crispy part, but the other parts are not okay. So as you see, these are not in the game because of the creasing. So let me undo this and just remove the creasing quickly. So in geometry we have crease, and within crease we have this uncrease all function, and then that creasing is gone, and we can go back to deformation and polish crisp edges, and this will be fairly clean. Okay, so polish crisp edges. I don't want to use any more than is necessary because it shrinks a little bit the environment, but it's working fine. Okay, let me leave solo mode and see for myself how big it is. It looks fine. Let me go into W, scale it up slightly, closer to the original range, and that's it. Selecting this one, of course we don't want it, we can delete that. Okay, so there we are. And it's time to create a kind of an arc. So I'll go to Gizmo, Deformer, and Ctrl-Shift, insert Ctrl-Alt, and drag this area and just pull this up. It will be a little bit uneven. I like this shape. Of course, if we wish, we can just drag and drag this part and just select these and pull this up, or use the sculpting brushes. Okay, now I'm happy with this one as is now. We can accept it and start using our sculpting brush. So that brush was, I need to reload it. So class brush is here. Okay, so we want to use that brush here, and maybe this one should be a little bit lowered. Now, okay, so what to expect? The first thing is sometimes this thing is too large, and if you want to sculpt or change up things, you have to use some trickery. Now here's something that maybe not necessary here, but it's a good idea and good to know. This is called stager. So this is the final place and position of the model, and we want to create an alternative position of the model where we can easily sculpt because it's not covered with things, it's not hidden into other things, or simply it's just smaller and we have a little bit better control with our brushes. So we can find it in geometry. There is stager, and this will be the home stage of this model. So this is home stage, and then we are just moving it away, scaling it down slightly. You don't need to go crazy, but as you see, if the max brush size is used, this is the max brush size. Now this is a decent size for this type of model, so it will be okay, and that will be my target stage. So once we have a home stage and a target stage, we can switch stages, and it's going back and forth, which one is a nice thing. It's good for teeth, good for details, good for many things. Alright, now we can drag the brush out, but we have to subdivide it. So Ctrl D, Ctrl D, Ctrl D, a couple things. It's not in the million range, but it is looking good. Okay, so I will just first create kind of a this river area and I'm pulling this out and creating some nice touches. Let me just emphasize it. Okay, so do that. Okay, that's fine. If you have a river-like things, you can create some paths and use it creatively. Okay, and then just making a little bit of a flat, just for texturing, just adding textures here on the side. And let me look at the switch stage, how it looks in a bigger size and a bigger scale. Okay, okay, this is convincing. Maybe here a little bit more. Just rotating around. Oh yeah. Okay, that's fine. So this is the little terrain I'm looking for, and we have now a brush, and we also use stagers. So that's a good touch. And you can create these brushes for barks, for various patterns. These multi-alpha brushes are really handy to quick touch-ups and quick surface texturing for generating your normal maps. Okay, now it's time to work on the tree. So if I'm selecting the tree, then I can go and use a copied model of this. Now, the reason is simple. If we press A, we will get back to the Z-sphere tree. Now, this Z-sphere tree is fairly detailed. It's not super crazy. Still, some branches are still thick, so it's worth to make it as close as possible if you want to have good control and you have an idea of a specific composition. But other than that, it's fine for now. And we can go to adaptive skin, and again, if you press A, it will turn on this preview. Now, be sure that Dynamesh is 0. Density is 4. That means it will create 4 subdivision levels for your model. And when you hit make adaptive skin, nothing really changes except the model will appear here. So we can switch right away here. And as I promised, if you press Shift D, now you have a couple subdivision levels. The reason we are going down in the resolution because we are masking. So by default, if we are using the we are creating branches. So when the branches are created with FiberMesh is the default look is like this. It makes it very like fur and hair. So it's not really, it doesn't fit, and it appears everywhere. Let me change my document background and choose something that's a little bit brighter. Okay, excuse me, I want to pick a different color slightly. It's a document. And a little bit more orangey, and then I will pick this other color. Okay, perfect. So now it works. It's more pleasing for my eye. So, because by default, if you apply anything, FiberMesh, it will appear everything. You have to have a control, and the best control is masking, namely mask lasso. So now let me turn off this preview, and if it's in the lower resolution, then it's usually this mask is a little bit easier. It works faster, and it carves out bigger chunks from your model. Okay, we have some kind of a weird twist there. Good to keep in mind. I was not checking thoroughly, so we have to fix it manually or something later in the time. Okay. Yep, lasso. These are also in the game. Roots are not. And okay, don't miss the tiny parts. Okay, so we can go back and Control and Alt, and just some areas are not that necessary to be included. So like this, we don't want to grow branches here, but in general looks nice. Okay, all right. So what's next? Now let us do the preview again, and this is how the preview looks. Okay, I will start working separately because it's easier to see the fibers. But of course, it's good if you go back to the main subtool, and you can just go to and add insert and insert the skin Z-sphere, and then you have the masks and everything. We will do it later because there's so many things going on, but we will see that. Okay, so going back to this. And see the settings, because we have plenty of settings of the FiberMesh. So first of all, this is a default. Now, by default, there's no like reset button here. So if you're experimenting in the beginning, at least, it's a good idea to save the kind of a simple generic use default fiber. So fiber default. Okay, so that's the default. If I mess up something, it would be great. Now the maximum fibers is 50,000, which one is it's good for hair, but it's way too much for here. We are setting this to 1,000. Now it looks like it's gone, but don't worry. We have a coverage, which one is kind of a thickness of the overall thing, and if you crank that up, these fibers are coming back. Now they're coming back, but the size is still fairly small. So we have a 200 length, and I'm expecting a little bit more impact of this 200. The main value that holding us back is this by area, and that is modulated by face area. So if you have smaller faces, usually we have this smaller fibers growing from them. So if you reduce it to 0.1, then it will be a lot more different. You can reduce it to 0.05, then it will be even bigger. Okay, so it's up to you. 0.1, 0.15, but as you see, these are now more unified and quite big. Okay, I'm not sure about the length. That this is the first thing. Maybe the coverage is a bit overkill, so let me reduce the coverage and see what's going on. And it's still not a perfect branch, but at least it's somewhat closer. Now what's the next? First of all, if you see it, these are fully black, and sometimes it's hard to read. So change the color for yourself and just save your eyes on this. Now this is bright. The masking is still active on the tree. So what we can do is just the tree is still selected, and we can go into masking, and in the masking we have this option called View Mask. Right. So I have it here. I have it actually multiple times here. Let me drop this. So View Mask, we can turn this on and off, and now we see the model in its original form. Okay, let us go back to fibers and see the fiber settings. Okay, length is fine, coverage maybe too much, but what else should we take care of? And as you see, these leaves, these branches are somewhat floating around the host mesh, and here's this tiny value which was not emphasized, but it is very important. If you set it to 0.5, for example, this embed, it will just 0.5. Is it working? Yeah, it will pull in the models a lot more. Be careful, because if you, as you see, let me just demonstrate here, the 0.5 is just too much, so we have to find an in-between solution. 0.1. Is it working? 0.2, is it still working? Yeah, that's still working. 0.2. And then you can be sure that these branches are not floating away from the tree, from the host. Okay, perfect. Now what else? Of course we want to have a 3D thickness. These are now just simple planes without any thickness. This is good for hair stripes or making a fur coat, but it's not really good for our purpose. How to make it 3D? First of all, change the profile. If you change the profile, I would change it to 5, because it will give us a fairly decent result with some smoothing, and it will ask something. Because of the amount of polygons I'm creating right now, even if I have just 1,000 branches, it would be a huge deal. So this was always asking you, okay, are you sure to want to do it? If you don't want to see this message because you know what you are doing, you can skip this node and move forward. Skip this node. Yep. And ta-da! Now we have the 3D meshes. Okay. So as you see, this was the embed 0.2, maybe 0.1. 0.1 is matching even for this. Okay, perfect. So what else to do? One more thing, that if you check this, we adjusted the profile, but the profile is not enough to be adjusted. If you want to create some curviness, if you want to alter the look of these a little bit better, then you have to use the segments. So you don't need crazy amount of segments, but about 10 segments can help you out in the long run and create more believable branches. And as you see, because I have added that amount, the gravity now can take over and pull these even longer. But let us just see what else should we take care of. Now, as you see, these fibers are looking like sticks. So it's going in a similar cross section, running, and in the end, there's a kind of a tip size. So it's not really the lucky thing. So what I'm suggesting you is to change the profile. So here we have this width profile, excuse me, and the width profile. If you just pull down the side, it will create a much softer look for the model. Okay, so this is more like branches, possible branches. Okay, let us close it. And the coverage looks fine. That maybe the thickness. Yeah. The coverage is there. We should take care of the gravity. So now everything is pulled down, and the gravity value, if you're modifying it, that's 0.5. If you set it to 0.2, let me see what's happening. Now these branches are lifting up. However, 0.1, I think that's closer to reality. So there's gravity, that's certain. There's gravity for sure. But you know, the trees can grow in all directions. But we have a stronger gravity. All right. Now what's up next? This is quite uniform, and I'm not sure about numbers. This 1000 seems to be too much, so I'm setting it to 0.5, which one is it's easier to read now, the tree. And what else? We have something called twist, and we have something like revolve radius, revolve rate. So what is this all about? Twist is like this. So let me show you. Twist is like this. It turns the, like a horn, it turns the fiber mesh. Maybe it's good for the animal fur, but it's not really needed here. However, the default value is 18. Some curvature can help, because if you have a low resolution mesh, then the smoothing, if the smoothing is not perfect, at least this horn is rotating around in the 3D space. Now, the bigger question is revolve rate. Revolve rate, if you just crank it up and look what it does, then you will see that it really curls the branches. The curl is going all along, so from root to tip, it's going all along, and that should be modified. But everything else seems to be quite solid. Okay, so how to adjust the effect of revolve radius? We have this revolve radius rollout where we see the graph, and if we're moving this down, that means the end of the branches are not that twisted. Okay, so I will just use the ramp a little bit lower, and that's it. If we're moving away, this is how it looks. So let me reduce the length, maybe That was kind of too much. So these are the branches that we can build on some leaves. All right. Now what to do? Before we are going very deep or forward, a few more things. I haven't saved it yet, but it's a good idea to save the fiber setting. So fiber and branch. And if you want to make more details, you can just accept it and then keep selecting the fibers. So now we have the fibers as well. And you can just go to FiberMesh and create preview. So now you have a secondary set of these. You can play with the length and reduce the length. And now another set is built up. And just to make sure the connection is fine. So 0.3 embed, and that's how it goes. Okay, it's not a necessity. I'm just giving you ideas that will change the length, change the diameter, and be careful with the embed. And then you have another layer of branches if you need. Okay, but what we actually need is something different. So let me open my brush setting for the defaults, and that will be the leaves. So now we have all the major tree branches and the fiber mesh leaves prepared. But how to do it? How to do this preparation? You know what? We will do it in the freedom window. So let me just turn this off, and I will collect it with the other materials and show it that way. So to make it easy, we should rename this. So the skin tree, that will be renamed to mesh tree, and fiber mesh 38 will be renamed to branches. Okay, so then we are going back to the main model. We should turn off the tree Z-sphere and just simply insert the model that we're looking for, so branches. And we need another, that is the tree itself. So now I'm selecting the tree in the other one, and insert, and mesh tree. So now we have the mesh tree. And now once we have all these, then we are selecting the branches, and then we are launching FiberMesh. Okay, so preview, and that's it. Now, of course, the numbers should be a little bit lower, but not crazy low. So I will set it to 10, like 10,000. And the coverage is usually the highest, so the maximum is about 5,000. And you already see the concept here. We will create planes, like atomic planes, and each of those planes will receive a texture. So that is our goal. Now, the coverage is about 5,000. I can't go any further, but the width profile is a little bit off. So I'm sorry, the length is a little bit too much. So if you reduce the length, then you will get something that's closer to a leaf profile. Okay, something that is closer. Now with this one, however, it could be way more realistic, but the segment number is set to 3. I will set the segment number to 1, and then it will be a little bit easier. What else should we take care of? Definitely we can load an image. So let us load and import a picture. Okay, import a picture. No, import here. And maps and green leaf diffuse. Yes, we want to resize this texture automatically. However, the texture is not so big. Now, as you see, the model is it cannot handle bifold transparency, so we have to adjust the slider. And the transparency is working within one map, where ZBrush says is black, it can turn it into transparency. So we can just transparent, drag the slider, and boom, there you go. Now you have the transparent maps. I see an issue, and that is coming from various fiber sizes, various leaf sizes. Because if you, it's good for a bush or something similar, that, but it's not really good for the tree if you have uneven tree leaves. So to avoid that, we need to find some settings in the masking area that are altering the leaf size. The by mask feature is not that much, but the by area feature, let me press it to 0.01. And that is makes them a little bit more uniform. What else? The scale tip should be 1, and that is fine for now. Okay, so this is it. These are the leaves. What else can we do? Good news that we can have some altering methods to spice things up. But before we do that, let us check the gravity, because gravity now is 0.5. If I reduce it to 0.1, the parts of the leaves are lifting up. Which is more closer to the realistic look. However, some are just going too close to the lantern, or yeah, if it will be a lantern, I think here. Okay, now the value I'm looking for is the fiber HT tangent. This tangent, this is working better if you have fiber on top of fiber. So right now, this is just these are the branches, and we are putting the branches were already fiber meshes, and now we can add on the leaves. Okay, so add a small change, and it can just spice up things and reorient the leaves. Okay, it's time to put this thing in test and create a render. So Shift R, and now we have them. Maybe max fibers 10 is a little bit shy, so we're increasing the value. Shift R, and now we have a little bit more density, and it looks convincing. Okay. So what else? What about UV maps? This is great, and as you see, it should have UV maps, because otherwise it's just not working. There is something, however, it may be not generated or not accessible. For the leaves, if we are saving this, let me save this. Like fiber leaves. Okay, and accept it. Great. Here's this question. Now, my advice is to turn on no fast preview mode. You want to keep a 3D mesh and not a simplified mesh with splines. So these are not. This is not crazy, and it's 80,000 polygons. Which one is? Yes, it's big, but these are individual leaves. Another thing that you can do is let me hide this away, and go back to the branches, and it will remember our settings. So I'm going FiberMesh and turn on preview, and it will bring back everything. So what else you can do? Right now, this is a single leaf. You can tile this and create multiple leaves, or maybe 3. And you can also tile here in this direction, so maybe 2, and it generates more leaves. It's not perfect, so if you want to make it better, the best advice is to paint it and use that texture here, import it here where it's painted. But it's an easy way to just populate these leaves a little bit more. Okay. Actually, 2 is not. It was nice. It was believable. Let me press Shift R, and see how it looks in the rendering. Okay. I will go with this one now. Right now this is just one set of leaves, but if you wish you can create different colors, different sets. You can also go into Blender and select an area and choose different maps for those, different materials. You can set this up. It can generate some nice effect. To make sure that you have the map available, so let me just turn off the preview, and we have the subtool created, so we can select this as well. And the UV map is working this way, UV map and create, and if you have it closed then you need to open this up and FiberUV. Okay, same thing here. These are the branches. Are these the branches? Let me isolate them. Okay, so this is the actual wood. Okay, where we can find branches. All right, just a second. And there we go. So here we are with the branches and UV map and UV map and FiberUV. And if we wish, we can load the texture map, import it in the upload, where I have this UV checker texture. And as you see, the UV is there. Okay, so it's not flipped. And maybe you need to stretch it slightly, but other than that, it's running smoothly and without any problems. Okay, so let me go texture off and see back everything. I have this allow click to solo function, which will just quickly allow me to isolate things. If you're looking for this one's in preferences edit, so you have this allow to click solo. So that's how it works. Now let me select the tree and just go up here in the subdivision. And what else? We have a couple moments. We can create some grass blades on the ground. So good for masking. We're switching to the mask pen, and mask pen with maybe a spray and an alpha, and just spray things around. And yep, and there we go. So just to make it fun. Okay, so now we have some areas where we want to have the grass, and we are going back up and FiberMesh and preview. So this is the default. Why? Because this model has not received yet FiberMesh, so this is why it's opening up here now. And as again, right away we can load a texture if we want to use the black background grass blades. Yes, it's fine if you convert it. And coverage should be higher, length profile should be lower. Maximum counts is 30 or 20 for now, which was fair enough. By area masking, 1, maybe set it to 1. It adds us a randomization, random look, which one is it's good for the grass, but it's not as good for the leaves because the nature of the tree leaves is different. But here with the grass, we can be a little bit more playful. And let me look at this, and of course the transparency should be turned on, and now we have a nice set of grass. One can turn on view mask, on and off. Perspectivity is on, so there we go. We can just press Shift S, Shift R, and hit render, and as you see, this is it. So now we have some grasses going around the tree leaves, and if you want to make it again more interesting, you can add more variations, more levels. You can mix of different species. One is tree, yellow leaves, whatever color shades and things like that. If you want to delete something from an existing set, what you can do is let me for example go with the branches. So let me go in here and select the branch and isolate it. Okay, Where's the branch? So let me see the branches. Okay, here we are. And if I press Shift F, it's by default, it has the auto group took its place. So if you want to delete, for example, this one, Ctrl Shift and tapping on this, inverting, and then you can go to geometry, modify topology, and delete hidden, and that single part is deleted. But of course the leaves will be there, so then you have to go and Shift F and select the leaves. If it allows us to select the leaves, fibers, okay, those are selected, perfect. So, and we can hide away things, and invert, and or just this, and go to geometry, modify topology, and delete hidden. But of course I have this button here. Okay, so that's how it goes. That's how it goes whenever you delete a branch or delete something. The branches was, yeah. This type of correction you can make. Because it's fiber, here's something else you can do. Let me turn off the leaves. Here's the tree. I'm looking for the branches are there. Okay, yep, there are there. And tree mesh, but we are isolating. Okay, now here we are. So these, if you are using the simple brush, BMV brush, that's for moving things around. You can move things around, and as you see, the roots are masked automatically. This is happening because we have brush and we have auto masking, and in auto masking there is this auto mask FiberMesh. So it recognizes this FiberMesh, it selects the root, which was good. You can also do this mask by polygroups. So if you mask polygroups, it's 100%. That means if you pick one particular branch, you can just tweak it. Okay, so if it goes through a head of your figure or in the way, you want to modify it, you can modify it easily. The best brush for this modification, if you press the BSH, a brush, that is the snake hook brush. So I can hit OK. I don't want to use the sculptors mode. Where are you, sculptors mode? So I don't want to use it because it alters the geometry. But this is working pretty nice. So it doesn't distort that much. Okay, it distorts, but you have a little bit of a better control. So if you want to tweak things around, you can use this with the snake hook brush. Okay, so some technical things to discuss. Now we have the leaves. Now we have the grass. Where's the grass? We should go back to it was not created. So FiberMesh, preview, and then I'm accepting this, and I don't want to use the other option. Okay. So when I'm hitting a render, this is how it looks. Shift R, and we have the. Oh God, excuse me. So we have the grasses. All right. Thank you very much. Hope you enjoyed and have fun and just grow the vegetation. Thank you. See you next time. Goodbye.